playing World Series games then.
Well, I hope so. I guess I'm one of the lucky fellas to be able to get into 10 World Series. And the way I feel now, looks like I'll be in there.
Well, hope you hit a lot of home runs.
Well, I won't predict anything, but I'll sure do my best. I hope all you boys will be out there watching it.
I'm Jay Baker.
I'm Patty Baker. I'm Jay's wife.
I'm Patty's husband. Well, as a young kid, I always enjoyed baseball. And for some reason, I became a Yankee fan at a very young age. And then my sister, who was 8 years older than I was, I don't think she was thrilled, but she used to take my friend Herbie and myself, he's a friend since I was 6 years old, to the Yankee games. And because my mother said, you take them to the Yankee games. I've been collecting my whole life. I started with comic books, I think, and I had an incredible collection. There's a sad ending to it. I came home my freshman year in college, and I went to look at my collection, and my mother had given it all away. Must have sold it for junk, the paper. So all my comic books went, all my sports stuff went, everything went. I had Superman 1 to 100, so that was, pretty young when I started. Batman 1 to 100. Captain Marvel 1 to 100. And then I collected postcards that people would send, mainly to my parents, and I collected those, and I collected stamps. So I didn't realize how many things, as a kid, I've always been a collector. Well, one year, about 25 years ago, Patty said, all you do is work, you don't have any hobbies. And she said, I just got 2 balls. You tell me which one you want of these. And they were both Ruth Garrett balls. And I said, I want them both. And those 2 balls, which I still have, started basically this whole collection that you see.
Actually, it was Christmas, and by fluke, I got the second ball, and I thought, I'll send it back. And then I thought, no, I'll let him choose which one he wants. And he wanted them both. So it was an expensive Christmas, and it's been an expensive hobby since. But I thought he would do something with it because he loves sports so much. And the path to now, I didn't see it as big and as joyful as it's become. I mean, he's a curator of his own museum. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to go through what he's got now, and that's just what he has here.
Babe Ruth is probably the greatest athlete that's been in America. I think he was voted second to Michael Jordan, but Babe Ruth could pitch and hit, so he might have been the best. I think he didn't get that because, he's been gone for such a long period of time, but he was a close second. And he was bigger than life as a personality. He probably, with the scrutiny that we have today, he might not be as popular, because he was a pretty wild guy. He lived a pretty wild life. But what was so incredible about Babe Ruth, and you really look back at it, when he would hit, 47, 59, 60 home runs, he hit more home runs than other teams hit. And he basically hit more than any single team hit. I mean, so how incredibly above the other players he was. Lou Gehrig was also one of the greatest players of all time, but he was overshadowed by 2 other players. And so Babe Ruth and he played together for many years, and Babe Ruth was always the number 1, and Lou Gehrig was number 2. And then when Ruth retired and actually went to Boston in 35, and then in 36, Joe DiMaggio came up, and he became the new superstar of the Yankees. And so Gehrig again became number 2, even though he was such a great player. And what ended, he was very quiet, and he set an enormous record by playing, I think it was 2,138 games consecutively, and he set the record for many, many, many years. He ended up being probably the most famous for his great speech that he gave on the day. a guy who was one of the strongest players that ever played the game, and set the streak for most consecutive games that held for many, many years. He ended up getting this horrible disease, the Lou Gehrig disease. So on Lou Gehrig Day, probably the most famous day that any baseball player has ever had. So they filled the stadium for him, and they brought back all the old Yankees. And one of the things that was very iconic about it is Babe Ruth and he had a falling out, and they didn't speak for years, even though they were very friendly in the beginning. There were two stories: one that Babe Ruth insulted his mother, who he was very close to, or made a play for his wife, or he might have done both. You never know. But they didn't speak. And that day, Ruth went over and hugged him, and they made up. And I have, which is incredible in my collection, that picture, which is very common, but I have it autographed by both of them, which I've never seen before. Because Gehrig at that time was having trouble writing, and so he autographed very little then. So during this time, he's there, and they're giving him all these prizes and everything, and then he didn't want to speak, but the crowd was chanting, they wanted him to speak. They said, "You have to speak," and he got there, and he gave the most famous baseball speech of all time. And the line was, "Today I feel like I'm the luckiest man on the face of the earth, and here's a guy who's dying." And that line is probably the most famous line ever given in any sports talk. And his speech is still the most famous of all time.
I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. Thank you.
Joe DiMaggio came off the sandlot of San Francisco to blast his way into baseball's Hall of Fame and capture the imagination of all America.
Well, Joe DiMaggio, I did have a chance to see him play a few games. And, he came up and he was this incredible idol right away. And he had this effortless way of playing. He was an incredible fielder, incredible hitter. He ran bases well. He kind of did everything very well. And he immediately became like an incredible star from day one. And he also had a lot of injuries too, which cut short his career. But he was also a great clutch hitter, and he was the heart and soul of the Yankees during the times that they actually probably won their most, well, Mickey also, they won 5 in a row under Mickey, and they won 4 in a row a couple of times under DiMaggio. So he was their man, and he had this certain grace about him, and the sports writers loved him, so they made him maybe even greater than he was, so he was an incredibly popular player.
In a special ceremony, he received a wide array of gifts, including a brand new automobile. New York baseball fans had chosen that day to honor their hero. Choked with emotion, the star center fielder could only mumble, "I want to thank the good Lord for making me a Yankee."
Meet Mickey Mantle, whose spectacular slugging is the talk of the baseball world. Mickey's smoking bat has helped put manager Casey Stengel's New York Yankees at the top of the American League heap. During one stretch, Mantle led major league hitters in 5 different departments: batting, home runs, runs batted in, total hits, and runs scored. Mickey has sparkled in the field, too. Here he thrills a Yankee Stadium crowd with a sensational bare-handed cutoff, and his rifle arm has cut down many an enemy runner. Ahead of Babe Ruth's record 60 home run pace, the switch-hitting Mantle clouded one homer left-handed and another right-handed in the same game this year. Boasting a 400-plus batting average and several titanic home run wallops, the Yankees' new Sultan of SWAT, the amazing Mickey Mantle.
I think the greatest thing about Mickey Mantle is that what if? When Mantle came up, he was the fastest runner in baseball, and he had the most power. So it was so rare to have a player to have that, Barry Bonds was kind of like that and a few others, but it was unique what he had. But in his first World Series, he stepped in a drain and he hurt his knee, and for the rest of his career, he had knee problems. And so he lost some of that speed. It was still pretty fast, but he never lost that power. But because of those injuries and stuff, he never was, what maybe he could have been. He once said, if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. That's a very tough question. Do I have one favorite piece? I would say I have three favorite pieces that I would count as one. And it happens to be Mickey Mantle. And it's Mickey Mantle's 3 most valuable trophies. I guess getting those were just incredible to me because, again, he's my favorite player. And to have his 3 most valuable trophies, 1956, 57, and 62, maybe put those together. Maybe that's my most exciting. But I have to tell you, I have so many exciting things from each of the players that it's very hard to just say that that's my favorite, but that kind of stands out. And there was one that I got, it's interesting. I got a ball that's signed by all 4 of them. And I guess somebody had Ruth and Garrick, and then the grandparents, the grandson maybe got, DiMaggio and Mantle. And when I held that ball, it was like magic in my hand. Here's a ball signed by the 4 of them. I have not seen another one that's signed by the 4 of them with no other signatures on it. They might exist, but it's the only one I've ever seen. Well, Derek Jeter, and it's funny, Patty also, Derek Jeter was Patty's favorite player too. And she's not a big ball fan, but she really liked him. And we had the opportunity of meeting him a few times. But he was just unique. He was a winner. He's just a great ball player. And he was the only Yankee to get 3,000 hits, and they won so many World Series with him. How great a leader he was, and he was the captain and an incredible captain of the team. So he was the heart and soul of the Yankees during this whole great winning times that they had. What makes baseball so beloved? I think it was a sport that originated here in America. And, other sports, maybe some originated here, but, and this is a kid growing up, and times have changed, but when I was growing up, everybody played baseball, and you played other sports too, but baseball was the thing.
The philosophy for our art collection is that Jay and I must both like it and agree on it. Otherwise, it doesn't find a home with us. There are a few pieces that haven't found a home with us because one of us doesn't resonate. But mostly we wanted things that would tell a story that would go through the centuries or the years, and we up to contemporary. And we found that in all media, metal, bronze, steel, marble, everything, paintings, combination of everything.
We have to like it, right?
Yeah, we have to like it. It doesn't matter what it is. It also carries over into home design. So, and we don't buy a painting to go with our home. We just add it to whatever we've got. So, and we've collected some really fun things that aren't worth very much. We've collected some really valuable things that some museum someday will be very fortunate to have, I'm sure.
What would visitors get outweigh? I guess I hope one of it, that the love that I have of baseball, that they would feel this, and this is a great exhibition, and as I think we said before, the Hall of Fame said it's the best Yankee exhibit, that they've ever seen, my collection. So it's a chance to share it with a lot of people, and I feel honored that I could share it with a lot of people. So I just hope some of them have the same feeling. I know there's a lot of wonderful people that love baseball so much, so I think a lot of people get a lot out of it. And it's things that, we have many one-of-a-kind things that nobody's ever going to see, so I think here's a chance to see it. And our artwork is just, it's how we feel about our artwork. I mean, there are many great art collections, around. But this is what we really love, and I think, I hope they enjoy it as much as we do.
I would like to see people take away from this exhibition is a sense of the past, how it relates to the present, and what it means for the future. Art tells a story about the time in which it's created. And there are a lot of things from Old Masters to Impressionism, to Modernism, to Post-Impressionism, to Contemporary. And you see the different styles, and maybe people will think about how they do that, and why they do that, and what was going on around this. Why did they choose to make this squares and angles with the look of a person, but it's not really a person? Or what does it mean to have this seascape here that's not like picture perfect, but it's got these strokes you can see? I mean, think about that, and think about how art was created and why it's appealing to you or why you don't like it. Is it because you're unfamiliar with it? Is it because you don't like the color? You don't like the size of it? Does a theme just not appeal to you? And find what you do like. And that's the other thing, to pull people together, that baseball is a great pastime. It doesn't matter what your religion, your color, your ethics, even your morals are. It pulls you together. It's something you can do together. Art basically is the same thing. It's just how do you choose to live it.